Boelter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
Metcalf.
Nate Burleson, you're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Okay, what's up, guys? This is NorbCam Take 2. Trying to get this thing worked out. We had a little bit of some technical issues with the sound, so we decided to just try to just start this over and see if we can get this right the next time here. So we were just talking about the Myles Garrett hoax, and I was just starting to get some input here from Noah, and one of my guests on the show here, and I'm seeing now that I got the audio worked out, it looks like the stream, the chat stream is not working. Oh, I gotta love all this stuff. But hey, okay, whatever. You know what? I'm not gonna worry about it. You can watch the stream, the chat in the app itself. So I'm just gonna take it off the screen here, not worry about it. Okay, so I just got done reading a little blurb about the person who put this rumor out there, basically saying that this was a attempt to get back at Seahawks fans to for fun, to get this fake rumor going as payback for the Hail Mary of 2012. So crazy way of getting back. I think someone's just bored out of their mind. But Noah, you were starting to talk a little bit about that. So share me your thoughts as far as the hoax that was this Myles Garrett trade by the Seahawks. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was this, like you said, Norb, somebody that has too much time on their hands because of the whole quarantine right now. They got bored. Another point that I mentioned last time, I don't think they heard, was that the Packers, as a Packers fan, like he is a self-proclaimed Packers fan, there's a lot of other reasons why he could also have hate towards Seattle's franchise. 2014 playoffs, the season opener that season, and so I can understand why he would do it. I can understand how he did it with the amount of time and everything, and then having the connection in the locker room. I thought that Justin Britt thing was pretty late, actually. We talked about it on our stream. So, I don't understand how he got so much credibility for announcing the Justin Britt release. We talked about it on our stream. We talked about it on the show a while back. And I've heard Norb talk about it. I've heard Calvin. I've talked about it. So it's not like it was a big secret that Justin Britt was possibly going out of the way. And then he got all that clout because of it. So it's not something that we should pull our hair out about. Myles Garrett's not going to be on our team. At least we didn't draft a quarterback in the first round this year, I guess we could say that. So, it was a waste of time, but who cares?
How about you, Cal? What's your input on this before we move on to more important factual matters?
Yeah, I'm with Noah. Going back to what he was saying about Justin Britt, everyone kind of knew that Justin Britt was a goner. And so I was kind of confused as to why he was getting so much credibility, so much credit for, I guess, breaking that news when everyone saw it coming. And I knew it was a hoax from the start. I had a couple of friends send me a screenshot of the tweet or of the actual report saying that he was going to be traded. But when I saw the package, it was, I think, a second-round pick in KJ Wright for one of the best pass rushers in football. That's when I knew it was a hoax. I try not to pay it any attention, and I don't understand why, a lot of people are giving it so much thought. I think that if we were going to make a move like that, it would definitely make a lot more headlines. I think that there'd be rumors that, that'd be leaking out. And so I didn't really want to pay too much attention, and I don't think we should pay the dude too much more just because, like Noah said, he's just kind of trolling. And so that's where I stand on that.
How about you, Martin? You got no piano lessons today, which is good. So what's your thought on this since you're able to join us today?
First of all, my piano lesson's actually at 4:50, so I have 80 minutes to spare. But yeah, I don't want us to have Myles Garrett. And I think Calvin went a little too far. I do not think Myles Garrett is one of the best. I mean, he is a pretty good defensive end, but I don't think he is one of the best. And I mean, sure, we need to help our D-line, but I just think that what this Packers fan did, why the Hail Mary? The Hail Mary, it was 8 years ago, it's pretty much not our fault either. It was the refs, and
replacement refs at that.
Yeah, replacement refs. And like Noah and Calvin said, I mean, we all knew Justin Britt was going to go. If you did not know that, then welcome to Earth. But, I mean, and how is he getting credit for something that everyone basically knows is going to happen? Yeah, I pick Tom Grossi over this guy.
All right, so I think we can just put that stop talking about that issue. So I want to talk about something real, and that is the receiving corps for the Seattle Seahawks. We have seen some changes. Some guys have left, some guys have come in, and yesterday we had a presser by Phillip Dorsett. Talking to the local Seattle media about why he came to Seattle and what he thinks he can bring to the Seahawks. And I thought a couple things were kind of interesting that he said. First of all, he hasn't even been to Seattle yet. He's never been to the Pacific Northwest at all. So he's a Seattle Seahawk, but he hasn't actually physically gotten here yet because of all the restrictions. But he's excited to be here. He said, he actually had the opportunity to come here last year, but he decided to stay in New England, said he wouldn't make that mistake this time, and is excited to start catching some deep balls from Russell Wilson. So I guess we'll start, Calvin, let's start with you, and let's give me some of your thoughts about Phillip Dorsett, the newest member of the Seattle Seahawks, and kind of where he fits in the Seahawks receiving corps.
Yeah, so there's a very specific role that I see for Phillip Dorsett. I really like the fact that we brought him in this offseason. Let's not get our hopes up and think that he's going to be some guy that comes here and gets 500-plus yards in his first year, 500 to 1,000. I think that's overstating it. The most yards he's ever had in his career was 528, and that was in 2016 in Indianapolis. So let's not get our hopes up now. He averages like 200, 300 yards per year. But last year, he had his career high in terms of touchdowns, and he had 6 plays for 20-plus yards, as well as 2 plays of 40-plus. So what I see him as, and you'll remember from listening to the press conference, he wanted just studying the game of football. He's never been to Seattle. He's never been in a game in Seattle, but he has watched a lot of Russell Wilson, and he loves watching his deep ball. This is a guy that situationally throughout the year, he has the potential to win us a ball game in multiple different instances. You remember the first time we played the Philadelphia Eagles? I think it was the first time we played the Philadelphia Eagles last year. The final play, I was at the watch party with you guys. The final play came down to a third and whatever it was, and Russell Wilson threw the ball up to DK Metcalf. Just go get it, because they were going to blitz, try and prevent the run, try and stop all the short stuff. Based on how they stacked the box, he saw the pre-snap look that he wanted and took the shot. Well, that's what Phillip Dorsett is going to provide. He's going to provide that speed, certain plays where defenses are going to rotate to DK Metcalf, to the run game. They're going to try and stack the box. Dorsett can take advantage of a one-on-one matchup. He's not going to be a consistent provider every single game. He's not going to be someone I want on fantasy, but he's going to have 1 or 2 weeks where he'll get hot, and he could be the difference in the ball game.
I like it. Calvin, what do you think?
I love the addition. I'm with Noah. I'm not going to expect him to come in and put up 1,000 yards, much less even 500. But I think that he's a perfect complement to the receivers that we already have. He's a deep threat. And let's not forget, he was drafted in the first round about like 4 or 5 years ago by the Indianapolis Colts from the University of Miami. So he does have that pedigree. I still believe that he has a little bit of unlocked potential that he could potentially unlock over in Seattle. And he said in the press conference yesterday, he feels like he's continuing to get better each and every single year. And I love when we bring in guys who want to be in Seattle. We talked about Damian Lewis a few weeks back. Phillip Dorsett was talking about how he wanted to sign in Seattle last year, but instead he re-signed with New England. And so he didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to come to Seattle this season. And so I think that he's excited to come in. And I'm expecting him to put up a few big plays, a few spectacular plays. He's definitely going to stretch the field for us, and can't wait to see what he brings to the table.
How about you, Martin? What's your thoughts on Phillip Dorsett coming in?
Yeah, I like the signing. Like you guys said, the fact that he has a bunch of touchdowns are really important, and I like how he's a really good deep threat. You know how much we like to throw the ball deep. Usually we do it with Tyler Lockett or we do it with DK Metcalf. So, I mean, Tyler Lockett can run a bunch of routes DK is usually deep there, but I want to see Russell throw to Phillip Dorsett, like more on the deep routes. And I wanted to just see Phillip Dorsett burst out. I mean, he was a first round pick that he's okay. I want to see him play like maybe a number 3 wide receiver, because most of our number 3 wide receiver in David Moore last year was very mediocre. And I just can't wait to see like him just make a big catch. I mean, you said that he caught a lot of touchdowns. So, I mean, he could be a reason why we might throw at the 1 yard line. I don't know. So I had to bring that up.
Go there? Come on.
Yeah, come on now.
I'm sorry.
Hey, real quick.
He was a Patriot.
Yes, I know. I just want to shout out Nick LeBeau in the super chat. Says, if you could get any player in the league and put them on the Seahawks, who would you put? Contracts and cap don't matter. That's a good question. I want to table that for a second. If you can get any player in the league, I assume that means anyone who's available. You can maybe clarify that, Nick, or are you talking about in a fantasy world where you could just get anybody from any team and just snatch them and put them in here? Maybe clarify what you mean by your question there. But we'll ponder that as we continue to discuss a little bit more about the wide receiving core. I was on earlier today talking on the fantasy football counselor's site, and he was asking me specifically about DK Metcalf and what I expect out of him in his second year with the Seahawks. He had a great rookie season, as you guys all know. Metcalf, they put up a few numbers for him. 900 yards, 15.5 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns, played all 16 games. 58 receptions, for 58 for 900, that's pretty good. So let me throw it back to you guys, because the question he asked me was pretty tough. He said, if you had to put $1 million down and say which of the 2 receivers is going to have the better year, DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett, who would you say? Who would you put your money on? And Noah, I'll start with you.
Well, you got to look at the fact. If I had $1 million to put down on Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf for next year, I'm going DK Metcalf, and here's why. As he came in as a rookie, he was extremely raw, and he already had an instant impact that blew our socks off. Tyler Lockett, unfortunately, last year wasn't as impressive for me. He didn't pass the eye test for me. He's had injury problems as he's continued. I'm not saying that he's not going to have a good year, because I think he has a great year. I think DK Metcalf just blows our socks off. I think he becomes our number 1 wide receiver. I think he's excited to have another year in the NFL, another year with an opportunity to run some more routes. I think he sees a lot of the opportunities that he had last year, and he sees a lot more of opportunities that he missed. He dropped a lot of footballs. There's a lot of room for growth. He fumbled too many times. He was careless with the ball at times. While he had a really good year for Seattle in his rookie season, there were a lot of plays that he left on the field. I think he capitalizes on that, and I think he takes advantage next year.
Nice. I had the same answer when I had to put my money down. I feel like DK Metcalf's going to take it to that next level. Calvin, what do you think? Agree or disagree?
Make it a party of 3. Going off of what Noah was saying, last year as a rookie, I mean, he put up 900 yards and 7 touchdowns, and I don't think anyone saw that kind of production from a rookie, especially one as raw as DK Metcalf. And he has so many things that he can improve upon. He's a future of our team, and he's a future superstar. And for him to be that good in his rookie year, I can only imagine to see what kind of production he could put up next season. His chemistry with Russell Wilson should be even better. I'm hoping that we don't have so many injuries, with our running backs. We have a whole lot of tight ends, and so a lot of defenses won't be able to key in on DK. And as long as he, focuses on not dropping the ball so much, on ball security, I think that I'd put $1 million on DK.
All right. Shall we make it a party of 4, Martin, or are you on the contradictory side of that?
I'm really divided, but honestly, if someone gave me $1 million, I would not put it on those players. I get it for a spiral staircase for my mom, but if I were to, the thing that's so divided is like Tyler Lockett. Yeah, he had that very tough injury, but I mean, he still played pretty well. He's I wouldn't say fully consistent, but like 80% consistent type of guy. He can run a bunch of different routes. He can play slot. He can play outside. As for DK, he can't really play slot. He can play more outside, deep route kind of guy. But I am expecting DK to do more, and I am going to go with DK Metcalf. As long as he produces and does better. Like, he hit 900 yards last year. I'm expecting maybe a 1,000 plus season. And I mean, I just really hope he just doesn't drop the ball, because that's the thing. Like, DK, he dropped the ball a lot. He fumbled a lot. Tyler Lockett didn't really do that. So I mean, Tyler Lockett's the type of like the more consistent guy. But I put my money on DK. It's going to be kind of like the Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin kind of thing, where after a couple of years, DK is going to take over Tyler, kind of like Tyler took over Doug. I feel like it was 2 seasons ago or so. Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay, so party of 4 for DK Metcalf. Looks like we're all unanimous on that, with a very hesitant unanimous final decision by Martin. I think so too. Now, looking back at Tyler Lockett last year, 82 receptions for 1,057 yards, 8 touchdowns. I think he played in all the games, right? Did he play in all the games last year?
Lockett? No.
No. How many he missed? What did he miss? How many games did he miss last year?
Philadelphia? I don't feel like he missed Philadelphia, but I feel like he did.
He missed a lot of snaps.
He missed with the Niner game.
Part of it, yeah.
But
he was overtime part of it.
But I'm looking at the numbers here. It says that he played in all 16 games. He was out for some of that 49er game, but I don't think he missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Anyway,
yeah, he didn't miss the whole.
Anyway, bottom line is, the gap definitely is shrinking between the two of them, and I think what's exciting is like you said, I think DK Metcalf is just scratching the surface, and he really fits the mold of what a number one receiver should look like, right? You want that guy who's big, fast, has that body that can really, outmuscle a defender, and I think that's the one thing in watching him, game in, game out, in person as well as on TV, was it seemed like there were times when he didn't use his body to his full advantage. I feel like he's so big and he can jump so high, and there were times when it felt like he wasn't attacking the ball and using his frame to just essentially block out guys. Kind of like in basketball when you got to learn how to rebound and block out guys and get position, right? Sometimes you got to learn that craft, and I feel like he's getting there. Obviously, in college, it's a big difference when you go to the pros. But considering, I think he's got a long way to go in that regard. Once he does get that figured out, oh man, I think it's going to be sky's the limit, because he can clearly take the top off of defense, and now he just has to catch the ball when it's thrown to him and just fight for position. And I think he'll be like a dominant center, man. You just keep tossing it up there, and he'll just go up and get it. But he'll be a center who can sprint down the field and cherry pick you and get that quick fast break bucket. So yeah, I do believe that he's going to give Tyler Lockett this year a run for the money. Who knows? Maybe those guys can both go close to like over 1,000 yards. Mm-hmm. Not out of the realm of impossibility, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit. We talked about 1 and 2. So now things get a little bit more murkier in the 3 and 4. I think we've got basically David Morris coming back. We talked about Phillip Dorsett, and then there's John Ursua, who didn't really get much of a chance last year. But what do you guys think as far as who's going to be the number 3 and 4 receiver, or is it one of these guys we picked up in the draft? What do you guys think as far as how these things kind of all line up in the 3 and 4 position when we got to spread that field and get all 4 receivers out there? Noah, what do you think about our 3 and 4 spots?
So I think it's for next year it's going to be Dorsett and Moore as our 3 and 4. After that, I look to John Ursua and Freddie Swain, and then finally to fill out the group, I look at Aaron Fuller. I think those are the 7, just based on what they're able to do to help the quarterback as he scrambles. I think Ursua showed what he could do in his short stint, and I think that connection with Russell Wilson is going to grow through this offseason as much as any relationship can. Let's talk about the Seattle locker room a little bit, and the fact that Russell Wilson and we heard Phillip Dorsett doubling down on it. Everyone, of course, in the NFL is doing all these video conferences, but if anyone's on top of that kind of stuff, it's a guy like Russell Wilson. And so I really think, especially considering the fact that this offseason is going to be so difficult, you look at franchises that are going to have an advantage, and those are going to be those franchises that are established, that have been winning for a while. And the Seahawks are the Patriots of the NFC as much as we can compare in terms of our competitiveness over the last couple of years. So I think it's going to benefit our wide receivers. I think just having John Ursua, Freddie Swain as our backups to our backups, we're going to be set this year at wide receiver. And 3 and 4 got to go. Moore 4, and then Dorsett at 3.
How about you, Calvin? What do you think about the 3-4 and then the bringing up the rear?
Once again, I'm with Noah. Phillip Dorsett definitely at the 3. Like I said earlier, he has that first round pedigree. He could stretch the field for us, and he brings a lot to the table. And at the 4 spot, I'd go with David Moore just because he knows the system. He's made a few plays here and there. He's a little inconsistent, but he's still young, and I still believe in him. And I think that the Seahawks, with them, bringing him back, I think it was on a 1-year tender. I think that shows a lot of confidence in him as well. And he does have a little bit of chemistry with Russ. And so I'd like him at the 4 spot. So Phillip at the 3 and then David Moore at the 4.
All right, Martin, anything different from that? Are we on the same page?
Nope. I want Phillip Dorsett at number 3. Like Calvin said, he can stretch the field. We can hit some deep balls with him. Number 4, as much as I want David Moore to go, I think we do need to put him at number 4. I just think that he hasn't been consistent enough. Sure, he made some big plays, like the one against the Vikings that I was there with you, Norb. And then they went into that touchdown celebration. I kind of want to see him go, but number 5, I am looking at John Ursua, considering he spent a year with us. He made that one very important catch, although I wish he could have gotten closer to the end zone or in the end zone. As for number 6, I am looking at Freddie Swain, our 6th pick. And number 7, I'm honestly surprised Noah went with Aaron Fuller, considering that usually Wazoo people hate UW people because I'm a UW guy. Right. Yeah, I know my friend Adam's probably somewhere on the chat celebrating right now because he's a Cougar too. But I mean, Aaron Fuller is pretty darn good, but I think I would go with Stephen Sullivan, although some people think of him as a tight end. He plays like a wide receiver. He's got the height to out jump those guys. He's like kind of like DK. DK's pretty tall too. So we could use him at times where we just need to throw a jump ball to the end zone, or just in a time where we just have to throw a dart towards the first down. We can just throw it up high for Stephen Sullivan to take. I don't see him taking that many snaps, but if we need him, we need him. I like Stephen Sullivan. I like his height. I like the way he plays. And he made Joe Burrow look good. Maybe.
Yeah, he did. He gave him a good weapon to throw to. So I want to go back to this, the question that we had in the super chat, because he did follow up with, to clarify that, Nick LeBeau. He said he wanted to know kind of fantasy style. And I believe the question was, if you could get any player in the league and put them on the Seahawks, who would you put? Contracts and caps don't matter. So I guess we're going for the biggest bang for your buck, anybody from around the league on another team. You could just pluck that person out and just stick them on the roster. No holds barred. Who would you take? And I guess this is a really big question of what is our biggest need that we would need to fill in one spot. You could just have a freebie and just steal a guy. They should make that an actual thing. That you could just take one guy from every team. Everyone gets one guy that they can take from anywhere. That'd be kind of interesting. But Noah, put you on the spot. What do you think, man? Who would you just plop in here, steal from another team, and plop into the Seattle squad? Offense, defense, skill position, line. It's kind of a fascinating question. I like it. Where do you go? What do you do?
It's a very fascinating question. There's a lot of good answers, but I think there is one right answer for Seattle specifically. And it's because this is a guy that not only would be huge on our team, can play multiple positions, can play multiple roles, instantly impacts the quarterback on as soon as he arrives in Seattle, and we wouldn't have to play him twice a year, and that guy is Aaron Donald. I think we add former or defensive.
You stole my
MVP.
thunder, man.
Aaron Donald would be perfect. I'm so sick of seeing him sack Russell Wilson, and you can't sack Russell Wilson in practice, so we would never have to see it again as long as he's in Seattle. This guy would instantly impact our defensive line. We can move him wherever we want across the line. He's going to have an impact everywhere, and there's no question about it. He's an unstoppable force. He has extremely strong hands, and his ability to avoid the offensive lineman is truly an art. He keeps hands off of him, and by avoiding contact altogether, he saves time that helps him get to the quarterback. He's an unreal defensive player. Offensive scheme around him, run away from him, and that guy is the guy that I would take to Seattle without a salary cap.
All right. So before I go to you, Calvin, I'll give you time to think here. So I just want to talk to, because someone in the chat said, I wish Norb would read the chat. So I'm going to read the chat. So you can't say I didn't read it. But I see a lot of people here saying the same thing. Ayush says Aaron Donald. Tyler Hopwood also is going for Aaron Donald. Nike 911 says Ed Oliver. Igor, Aaron Donald. James Watson, Chase Young says easy. Chase Young. Nike 911, Chris Jones. Hey, don't steal my thunder, man. Okay, so that's the chat. You guys can continue to blow up with what you would put down, but I'm gonna make this tougher here. We can't just say the same guy because that's too easy. So Calvin, once the guy gets off the board, you got to come up with a different name. So Aaron Donald's off the board. Who do you take?
I'd like another guy who's won Defensive Player of the Year besides Aaron Donald, and his name is Khalil Mack. He's very disruptive, and he's not just a great pass rusher. He's also a great run defender as well. And I would go with Aaron Donald just because he is the best defensive player in football. But as you said, Norb, we don't all want to just all say, Aaron Donald. So Khalil Mack, I'll take the second next best defensive player in football. Chicago took a step back last year, but there's a reason why they paid him so much. And there's a reason why Oakland got so much in return for him. He's an absolute game wrecker. He can alter a game plan on his own. And I think that if he was in Seattle, he would be everything we'd need. And I think we'd be a 40-sack team easily.
All right, Martin, before I'm going to let you go, I'm going to cheat and go in here real quick because I don't want you to steal my guy. And that was, Noah was already alluded to him. I'd say Nick Bosa, man. Nick Bosa is young, had an awesome breakout year last year. More of an interior guy, but that guy can give not only a disruptor, but interior pass rush. He can do it all. And man, if you could have seen the future and could have had some way of getting him, that would be a guy I'd love to see on our team just because he's just starting. He's got his whole career ahead of him, and a good dude is bad. So Nick Bosa off the list, Khalil Mack off the list, and Aaron Donald off the list. So Seahawks Martin, what say you? Who do you take?
You guys did not go with my guy. This guy has just been a sack master for so many years. I do not know about 2019, and but I know that he basically carries the Denver Broncos defense, and that is Von Miller.
I thought about Von Miller.
Man, he is a really good sacker. You saw him when we played Broncos 2018 or so. He was pretty darn good against, I don't know, who was it? Like Affetti? Affetti sucks. We all know that. But yeah, he is always disruptive. I mean, the Broncos really did fly under the radar this year, but I mean, Von Miller basically goes to the Pro Bowl every year. Like, no matter how much analysts talk about him, he's always in the Pro Bowl. And I mean, he is just a disruptor. QBs always have to watch out for him, and having him on our D line, the QBs would just say their prayers.
Yeah, it's amazing how we all went defensive line, isn't it? Clearly, we've been saying that since the beginning, before the draft, during the draft, after the draft. D-line. I see a lot of people in the chat saying Von Miller, Gilmore, Calais Campbell. There's another one that you can't go too wrong with Calais Campbell. A little older though.
Yeah.
Devin Peterson says Nick Bosa is racist. What?
Yeah, that is. I've heard that's true. I've heard. something like that.
Well, we won't get into that in this conversation. But let me take to the phone lines. We do have a couple of callers on the line, and let's keep our fingers crossed and make sure and hope that the system doesn't explode when I try to take to the line. But let's go to our my friendly pal out of Dallas, Andrew. Hold on a second. Let's make sure this is working. Andrew, let's cross our fingers. Are you with us, Andrew?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Look at that! And the system didn't blow up. All right.
There we go.
How you doing, man? Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Well, could we go back to that question? I would say J.J. Watt. He couldn't get injured so much, but J.J. Watt's another good guy we could use.
J.J. Watt, yeah, he's pretty good.
Got a point.
I don't know if I'd put him at the top.
I had Nick Bosa originally, but Norb took that from me. So
that's right. J.J. Watt.
I was just going to talk about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right.
Well, I was just going to talk about our backups real quick. Because last year, some people think of it was a curse. You know, we got injured so much, and we ended up losing to the Niners by 3 inches. And if you could look at it from a different perspective real quick, I think last year was actually kind of a blessing for us because 85% of our team at least got one start in a regular season game because of how many injuries we have. You know, we got good play time for Shaquem Griffin. Cody Barton got some play time, in our defense. The O-line is basically the only thing that maybe had all of our starters in for most of the year, I guess. DJ Bluger didn't get injured as much. But, I think going into the 2020 season, if it doesn't get delayed or anything, I think we'll have one of the, if not the best teams in the NFL overall, just because of how much depth we have at almost every position due to all of the injuries that happened last year. And we also have great starters. We were 9-2 after that Eagles game. And then we just sort of fell apart. We lost to the Rams, the Cardinals, and then the Niners to make us go 11-5. But, I mean, we were a top-tier Super Bowl contender last year, and I think we can do that this year too. So what do you think?
Hey, no, I'll let you start the answers to that question.
Well, first of all, I really like the fact that you're a glass half full kind of guy. Last year with all these injuries, we get within an inch of getting winning our division. We were two home games away from the number 1 seed in the NFL. And we lost in the division round on the road to the team that we hate. And you found a way to make it a positive thing for Seattle, and I thank you for that because last year, the end of how it ended, it was like when you have a really great movie with a horrible ending. It's just like you kind of forget the good parts. So the fact that a whole bunch of our young guys and our developers, especially with the huge draft class that we had last year with BBK and all these guys, I think that's going to be a huge factor for us moving forward. I'm really glad that you brought that up. I think Seattle is going to be very successful this year. I think we take the momentum of what we were able to do last year when guys were on the field, like a Will Dissly now coming back with a Greg Olsen joining the team as well. I think the momentum for Seattle is going to be phenomenal. I already spoke on it, so I'm not going to go into it in depth, but this offseason being how it is, us being an established franchise is going to be big for us. We're taking that momentum. We're looking at it like glass half full. And we're going to move forward in a strong fashion because of it. I think Seattle is a very successful year. I have them going 12-4, winning the NFC West, and I'm sticking with it.
Calvin, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think he's definitely right. It was definitely a blessing last year. I think that considering all things, we overachieved. I think that last couple of years we've been kind of in somewhat of a rebuilding phase, and I think that for us to get to the divisional round and to get this close to advancing to the NFC Championship, considering all the injuries that we had, all the inexperience that we had, I think that it was a great thing, for all those young guys to come in, get playing time, just because our defense is getting a little older. And so for them to get in those meaningful snaps, I think that next year it will benefit them greatly. And I'm with Noah. I have the Hawks going 12-4 as well, winning the NFC West. And I think that barring health, we'll be one of the top teams in the NFC.
And Martin, how about you? How about you wrap up this topic here with your take?
Yeah, Andrew, you totally changed my mind. I was thinking these injuries are basically a curse for us. But when you look at it that way, you have a really good point, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, I really like the fact that you pointed out that gave the younger guys more pro playing time, which helps our core, the core of our group, like evolve a little, see the game a little more from that perspective. Wait a minute, but yeah, I feel like at this point, I feel like we could be a top tier team in the NFC. I feel like either 11-5, 12-4. So I feel like no matter what, I am expecting another playoff berth from us. If we don't, then I will be mad.
So will I. So, Andrew, I'm going to put you on hold for a little bit. I'm going to take another call here, and I'll get back to you in a little bit in case you had another question. But that was a good one. I'm going to go to, I believe it's Rowan from Alameda, California. Let's see if we can get Rowan on the line. Are you there, Rowan?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up, NorbCam?
Well, what's up? How you doing? You're calling from Northern California, correct? The Bay Area?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Bay Area, but I'm from Seattle. I'm a true fan. Don't worry. No, I'm not
okay, so you're a Seahawks fan because there's a guy who's like one letter off from you. You're Rowan, and there's Rohan from California, who's a 49ers fan. I think he's actually in the chat right now, thinking about calling in, but having second thoughts.
Twin.
Yeah. But so this is your first time calling, Rowan?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's my first time. I've been listening before on previous live streams, but yeah. Okay,
so what's on your mind? What you got?
Well, I just joined this one, so I don't know if you talked about this already, but I want to ask your guys' opinion on the Clowney situation, and if we could not re-sign him, who would you take and why?
Okay. We have covered it. We didn't talk about it today yet, but we have talked quite a bit about Clowney and the potential situation there. Noah, get it started. I think we all have slightly different feelings as to what's going to happen with Clowney. I believe you're on the side that he's not going to be here, but you can shed some light yourself. Noah, what's your thought on the Clowney situation?
Yeah, I don't think Jadeveon Clowney is coming back. I think he ends up probably in New York at this point. A report just came out that Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, hasn't been reaching out to Clowney, so that's a good sign for us, but I still don't think he comes back. I'd be thrilled if he does. Either way, I think there's a way that we bring in Everson Griffin, and either way, that's a guy that I want to add as well. Everson Griffin, that's the guy that I want if we can't get Clowney or with him, regardless. Another guy that's still potentially available along the defensive line, Jabal Shear. That's a much smaller name, but I think he could have an impact for us, as well as Damon Snacks Harrison. But ideally, obviously, you want Clowney. If not Clowney, Everson Griffin.
Calvin?
I agree with that one, mostly. What
do you think, Calvin?
I think, I'm with Noah here. I don't think Clowney comes back. Obviously, I'd love for him to come back. Who wouldn't? But at this point, I wouldn't count on him. And in his place, I'd go. There are three guys that I want. So either Everson Griffin, Michael Bennett, or Cameron Wake. And I think that we could actually get a combination of maybe two of those players, just because they wouldn't cost so much. And we have a little over $20 million in cap space now. And so I think that we're better off going with multiple depth guys rather than just Clowney. And so that's my answer.
All right, Martin, what do you think? Yay or nay on Clowney?
Yeah, I do not think he's coming back. But as a replacement, I'm going to go with what Noah said. I will go with Everson Griffin. He has been a beast for Minnesota for a while. Him and Danielle, what is his name? Danielle Hunter, something like that.
Danielle. Is it Danielle? I think it's Danielle.
Yeah, I think it's Danielle. I can't say his name correctly.
I don't think he'd like it if you call him Danielle. But I do believe it's Danielle.
I'm pretty sure he's used to it. Gotta be.
But I mean, he was just like fierce with Minnesota. He played a big role on the defense, and I feel like as a veteran, he can come in here, teach our younger guys like Alton Robinson, Darrell Taylor, maybe even LJ Collier, and teach them like how to play defensive end like really well. And and him also just like terrorizing the O-line, terrorizing the QB. And I mean, I feel like Everson Griffin, although he is starting to get old, I feel like he still has some steam in him, and I feel like him coming in would help our D-line.
All right. Well, we will find out as far as the whole Clowney situation. I think I'm the lone wolf here, and I'm still going to stick to the fact that I think he's going to sneak back in here. I know a lot of people have become disenchanted with the fact that it's taken so long, and that if he was really wanted to be here, he would have signed by now. But you know how it is. The off seasons, it always goes this way, and everybody stresses about every little thing that happens or doesn't happen. And then once they come back, and as long as they're signed by before the year starts, they forget all about what happened in the off season, and they just get right back down to business. So we'll see. Like I said, I had my analogy about Clowney going out there. It was like from Coming to America, where his dad, the king, told Eddie Murphy, as the prince in the movie, to go sow your wild oats and go see what the world has to offer, then come back and get back to work. So I think that's going to happen. We'll see in a few months, but I'm going to hold out hope that Clowney will be in a Seahawks uniform, not wearing number 90, apparently, if he does come back. So I don't know what number when he'll be, but it'll be something other than 90 unless they switch jerseys back when he gets back here. But we'll find out soon enough. All right, I want to go back to the lines again. We're going to talk to, I believe this is Mark from the 229. Mark, you're on live with Cal, Noah, Norb, and Martin. What's up?
Hey, is this NorbCam?
This is NorbCam. Is this Mark?
Who, me? No, this is Andrew.
This is a different Andrew. Oh, okay. Your caller ID says Mark. So
yeah, my name is Andrew Anderson. I'm sorry. I don't know why, because I was trying to get a hold on YouTube, but I don't know why it's.
That's okay. I think I saw you in the chat.
I'm trying to fix it, and every time I try to get a hold.
Oh well, you're here now. So what's on your mind, Andrew?
Yeah.
Where are you from? Where are you calling from?
I'm from Georgia.
Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Don't they have more relaxed social guidelines down there in Georgia?
Well, I live with my aunt because I was from Washington, but now I was with my aunt from Georgia because the reason why I live with my aunt is because my grandparents, they were not patients. Just to let you know, man.
Okay. So you're okay.
Yeah,
so you're down in.
I know it's kind of hard to make sense. Oh.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. All right. Well, the important thing is you're with your aunt. You're in good health. She's in good health. You say your grandparents. You were with them, but they're still around. They're still doing okay.
Well,
your grandparents. I hope.
Yeah, they're okay, but it's just my grandmother and my grandpa. They're just get upset with me when I'm trying to do something to make sense or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, I'm terrible not making sense because it's hard for me to understand because I'm autistic and I know it's kind of hard to long sentence.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm not in like a Seahawks fan, but I am. You know who I'm a big fan of?
Who would that be?
I'm a big fan of college football of Georgia Bulldogs. You never heard of it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I've heard of it.
Okay, so you're not really a big Seahawks fan. You're not a big Seahawks fan. But I guess I got to ask you, so do you have a question for me and my distinguished panel here? Do you have a football-related question? Doesn't have to be Seahawks even. I'd prefer it to be NFL because I don't know much about the college scene outside of my local teams. But, what do you have? What question do you have? And before you answer that, I got to say Anthony D in the Super Chat says, Andrew, that's my best friend. So if you're a friend of Anthony's, then Andrew, you're a friend of mine. So what do you got? What's your question?
Yes. Oh, okay. I am Anthony's buddy. Mm-hmm. And Anthony and I, we've been friends since like 6th grade in a middle school in East Valley.
Wow.
Nice. Okay. Good guy.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and guys, did you know my parents died like a year ago?
Your parents died a year ago?
Yeah, like my mom, I don't know how many years what happened, because, it's very sad. Yeah, I mean...
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's very sad that how...
Wow. That's why you're living with your aunt.
Died like a year ago, I think.
That's why you're living with your aunt now. Okay, I understand.
God bless you.
Wow, sorry, man.
Well, actually, I lived with my grandparents like a year ago because my parents died, and then when they're not patients, my grandparents, then I lived with my aunt now.
Wow.
It was like on September 12th where I lived with my aunt.
I see.
2019.
Wow, so you've been through a lot, man. I'm sorry to hear that. So I do have to ask you a question because
you're a great guy. You're a Seahawks fan.
Thank you. I'd like to think I'm a great guy.
I just got to make questions so much because I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited that you're here. I do have other callers I want to get to, so I do just want to ask, do you have one question you'd like to ask this panel here? It could be anything. One question. I'll have to go to the next caller.
Okay.
Ready, set, go. Okay. What's your question?
Okay.
No pressure.
For the Seahawks, my favorite player is kind of like Robert Wilson. Just to guess, it's
You meant Russell Wilson?
It's just my favorite player, I think.
You meant Russell Wilson, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Russell Wilson. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, Wilson. Yes, and?
Yeah.
And you had a question?
My favorite is Griffin.
Shaquille Griffin. All right. So Russell Wilson on the offensive side, Shaquille Griffin on the other side of the ball. Very cool. All right.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, Andrew, I want to say thank you for having the courage to call on here. And again, I'm sorry to hear about what you've had to go through with your parents and then moving around between your grandparents and your aunt and everything like that. So hang in there, man. I know this has got to be a challenging time, especially right now. So all I can say, hang in there. I appreciate you being here and taking the time to call. That's very cool of you. All right, so I'm going to go to another caller here. Doesn't have a name. It's anonymous. So let's find out who Mr. Anonymous is, or Miss Anonymous. Who is this, and where are you calling from? You're on with NorbCam.
This is Yona, and I am calling from Renton.
Hey, you're calling from my neck of the woods. Welcome to the show. I'm sorry, I didn't catch. What was your name again?
Yona.
Yona. All right, Yona.
Yona.
Got it. What's your question? What do you got?
My question is, wow, I didn't think this through.
You had 9 minutes to think about it. Now the pressure's on.
Okay.
Been there.
All right, Yona.
Been there.
Tell you what, I'm going to give you a second to think about it. He's got a question. Go ahead.
How do you think the record will be for this season?
Okay.
Do you think we have the possibility to go to the Super Bowl?
Oh, I'll start right away on that one. Yes. There's definitely always a possibility to go to the Super Bowl, especially when you have Russell Wilson leading your team. I never like to make my official prediction until I do my music video, which comes out before Game 1 of the regular season, which is end of August, early September. But unofficially, I'm going to say we're going to be at least, I think I said when we were on our show last time, guys, I said I think we're going to go at least 11-5. I'm hoping we'll do better than that. But we always seem to lose a game that we shouldn't lose, and we win a game that we probably don't expect to win. And so it'll be like that. So there's going to be one where I'd like to be 12-4 or better. There'll be one game that's going to really piss you off and go, how the hell did we lose to these guys? And there's going to be one in there. So 11-5 is what I'm unofficially saying right now. And I know you said 12-4 earlier. So just to speed things up, I'm going to move it along to Calvin. What do you think the Seattle record will be?
I'm also at 12-4. And to answer his question, yeah, we're definitely, I think, contenders for the Super Bowl. I think that in football, the best team doesn't always win, because it's not like basketball where there's a 7-game series and there's a lot of luck that goes into it and a lot of other factors. And I think the fact that we have Russell Wilson, a top 2 quarterback in football, along with the fact that, the best team doesn't always win. Because I do have to say, even as a Seahawks fan, we don't have the best roster in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that, we're not going to win the Super Bowl. And so, once again, to answer your question, 12-4, and I think that we're definitely Super Bowl contenders.
Martin, I know you're a pretty positive guy here.
Yep, 12-4 too. Aren't we Super Bowl bound pretty much every year besides 2017 because of a dumb kicker? But I mean, every year we seem to overachieve, seem to always make it to the playoffs. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't made it to the NFC Championship since about 6 years ago or so. I'm hoping we could. If we make it to the NFC Championship and lose, I'm still gonna probably be happy because, I mean, we have not seen the NFC Championship in a while. We've fallen short pretty much in the divisionals most of the time, but I feel like we do have a shot at the Super Bowl this year. We pretty much have it every single year. But I mean, 12-4 and a chance at the Super Bowl, I would totally be happy about that.
It's interesting when you think about the Seahawks' history when it comes to postseason, and we've been to the championship game at least in the last decade. We've been, or decade and a half, if you include the Pittsburgh Super Bowl. We've been there three times, and all 3 times we were at home, and all 3 times we won that game to go to the Super Bowl. And it's funny, outside of that, we have been like the division champion, or division. We always hit the divisional round, and for some reason, that's always where we get stuck, right? With the exception, we lost to Dallas for the first time in the wild card 2 years ago. I think that was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So it's like that divisional game. It's always that freaking divisional game where we seem to get stuck. We lost to Atlanta in the divisional game. We lose to Green Bay in the divisional game. We lose to, I think we lost to Atlanta twice in the divisional game in the last 10 years. Carolina, when we were 31-0 down and almost pull off the miracle of a lifetime to get back to, I think, 31-24 in that game. Am I missing any other games? I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Because 2012 was Atlanta, 13 was
against the Bears. 2010 against the Bears.
That's right. After we won the Beastquake game against the Saints. But yeah, 2012, we won. We ran into Atlanta. 2013 won the Super Bowl. 14 made it to the Super Bowl. 15, that was the divisional against the Panthers. 16 was divisional against Atlanta. 17, 18 wild card against the Cowboys, and last year was divisional against the Packers. I mean, I'm not going to complain if you can year in year out get to the divisional game. That means you're just 2 steps away from the Super Bowl almost every single year. That's pretty darn good, right? I mean, who's going to complain about that? But now it's like, what does it take to get past that? And let me ask you guys something. We know we should have won that game against the Packers, right? Malik Turner catches that ball. 1 or 2 things go our way. Somebody covers somebody named Devontae Adams, a couple times in that game. We probably move on to the NFC Championship against the 49ers in San Francisco. Yeah. What do you guys think, realistically? Do you think we would have won that game? In San Francisco, starting Noah, what do you think? Do you think we would have beaten the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl? I know this is like pointless exercise in like revisionist history, but it's fun to talk about.
Imagine.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that we're having fun right now. And so because we're having fun, I'm not going to pick the 49ers in an imaginative game because I won't pick them in the real game. That's the thing, is that the Seahawks heading into that game, right? Everything was against us. Had we been in this scenario, let's remember our running backs, all 3 of our running backs were gone due to injury at that point in the year. We had beast mode back there. It would have been a scramble. It would have been a scratcher and claw. But we saw that no matter how big the deficit is against San Francisco and how much we can't score, we can still make it a ball game. And so because of that, I'd say we almost had San Francisco's number last year had it not been for some bad play calling in the first half in our second game, or in the first game, late in the game, a couple mishaps like a Russell Wilson red zone interception, which we never see. So we almost had their number last year heading into the NFC Championship game. It would have been the reverse of what happened in 2013. Richard Sherman would still be on the home team. This year, he wouldn't have made the difference-making play. Seattle would have got it done on the road and handed it to the 49ers the same way they did in Seattle.
I've got a somewhat negative chat. Seahawks fan says Russell Muscle snubbed number 3 Go Hawks, says we would not have beaten the Niners in the NFC Championship. So it tends to disagree with you on that. I want to turn this around, Calvin, ask you this. Let's say in that final game of the regular season, if two things would have happened. Either we got that 3 inches and our tight end, Hollister, is able to just wiggle his way over and get the ball over, or we don't blow that delay of game thing and we give it to Marshawn Lynch. He gets the handoff, dives over the top and gets the touchdown. The 49ers never see the light of day after that. We would have been NFC West champions, right?
Yeah.
And then we would have. I can't remember the scenario now. We would have still played a game, but we would have hosted the next game at home against who would it have been? It would have been the Vikings. That's right, because the Vikings had to play the 49ers. So we would have hosted the Vikings, and I would like to think we would have won that game because we've gotten the best of the Vikings every time they've come to us in recent history. But then after that, would we have ended up in the same place? Would we have ended up playing the Packers again in the divisional anyway?
I think so.
I think that's how it was going to turn out, right?
Because I think San Francisco was the reason that Green Bay had the tiebreaker over New Orleans. And so New Orleans would have been the 1 seed, Green Bay would have been the 2.
Right.
That's just what I believe.
That's right. And because the Vikings beat the Saints, that knocked them out. Which would have been cool is if that scenario had happened with us, we would have played Green Bay, and if we could have won that game, then we would have hosted the NFC Championship game. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
We would have hosted the NFC Championship game against
the
San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
At home, baby. Just like in 2013. I got it. 3 inches messed up the whole timeline, space-time continuum, messed up the whole thing. How many times, we've had so many good seasons, and yet heartbreak by that much, heartbreak by this much. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. We should have had 2 by now, maybe even 3. But that's a whole other story. It's a whole other story. I want to talk a little bit about. Chris Carson. I want to talk a little bit about Chris Carson here, because that came up in the conversation I had earlier too with the fantasy football counselor, and he was asking me a little bit about what I thought of Chris Carson, and we know that he's kind of going into his last season here, pending a contract renewal and that sort of thing. But what are your guys' thoughts on Chris Carson? I want to pull up a little of his numbers because I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does for the Seahawks.
That is true.
And I think it's his shortcomings have overshadowed his accomplishments. Because look at what he did last year. He was actually the last 2 years. He went over 1,000 yards consecutive back-to-back seasons. He went 1151 in 2018, 247 carries for 1151. Last year he went 278 for 1230, 7 touchdowns, 4.4 yards average. The part that is not good with that is obviously he got injured at the end of the season, and he had 7 fumbles last year. Those 2 things kind of weigh heavy on there. But I still think he's our workhorse. I love the way the guy plays. He can catch the ball, run the ball. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of Chris Carson in the upcoming season, and will he be around beyond 2020? Let's mix this up. Martin, let's go with you first.
Oh, okay. I was not expecting that, but I do like Chris Carson. Like you said, 1,000 back-to-back 1,000 plus yards. He has completely overachieved for like a 7th round pick. But yeah, the injury bug just keeps getting to him. If he had not gotten injured, you never know. He could have maybe topped 1,500 yards. I just want to see him play just a full season, just once, just a full season. I just want to see if he goes a full season with 1,000 yards. And I think we should keep him. If he keeps getting injured, then I think we have to start looking towards either Penny, Homer, or maybe even DJ Dallas. You never know.
Calvin, how about you?
I think that we should definitely keep Carson. I was with the notion that we shouldn't re-sign him just because I don't feel like we should be paying top dollar for any running back. But then there was this piece that I read talking about Carson and how he's been kind of the lifeline of our running game. Last couple of years, we've been one of the top teams, running the football. But last year when he went down, our running game went down with him. And so I think that because he's been injured these last couple of years, that when it comes to discussing a contract extension, we might be able to get him at a discounted rate. And I think that as long as we have guys like Rashad Penny, DJ Dallas, and Travis Homer on the roster, and maybe we bring in beast mode, he doesn't necessarily have to be there for all 16 games because we have plenty of depth at running back. I just think that because he's the heartbeat of our running game, he does bring that physicality that we want and that we look for in a running back. Because I used to call him Beast Mode 2.0, and I still would call him Beast Mode 2.0 just because he's a bruiser at running back. And like I said, he does have durability issues, but as long as we keep a stable amount of depth around him, we won't have to rely on him for a full 16-game season. So I think that next year we kind of cut back on his carries just a little bit, just because he's recovering from hip surgery, and we have all these running backs. We have all these other running backs that can kind of carry the load. And I think that when it comes to extending his contract, I'm definitely on the side that we should extend him.
Noah, your thoughts?
Wow. So a couple things. First, I wouldn't call him Beast Mode 2.0 because that would imply that he's better than Beast Mode, and I don't think that he is. I also agree with you that he's going to have less snaps next year for Seattle, but I don't think it's because we're weaning him off because of the injury or what have you. I think it's because we're getting ready to move on. A couple years ago when we drafted Rashad Penny in the first round, that was a sign. We don't use a first-round pick on a running back if we don't really like him for the future. I also saw last year, you said the run game died with Chris Carson. I disagree with that. The run game died when we lost Chris Carson and Rashad Penny at the same time. It was the fact that we didn't have either one or CJ Procise. And Rashad Penny, I've said multiple times in that LA Rams game, and he was on your fantasy team at the time. The first drive goes down, gets 3.2 fantasy points. We're playing each other, and so he gets injured. That eliminates him for you. You end up losing that week in fantasy, but had Rashad Penny played in that game, I think you would testify that he probably would have won you that fantasy game because of the fact that he started off as a major part of the game plan. So I think Seattle started weaning him in as a part of the game plan last year. I think this year it's going to be even more of a step. And I think the reason that we don't re-sign Chris Carson unless we can get him under $5 million per year, which is just I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. He's a top 10 running back in the NFL. And so I think based on his style of play is the problem with him. It's not sustainable for years in the NFL. How long do you want to re-sign him on a contract? Is it going to be a 4-year deal? I don't know if he makes it through that contract, not only on our team, but in the NFL. With that style of running, it's so physical. He attacks everyone. He never runs out of bounds. He's putting his body on the line. Those type of running backs aren't working in the NFL anymore. At least not nearly as long. Frank Gore is an anomaly, and he avoids contact all the time. He doesn't run like Chris Carson. Chris Carson is a guy that runs so physically. People like him don't last in the NFL. We've seen it time and time again. We drafted a running back in the first round a couple years back. We can find more guys like Chris Carson, Thomas Rawls that we can come fill in our roster and build that depth. DJ Dallas we drafted this year. Running back is a position Seattle has not struggled with as of late, and it's not just because of Chris Carson. So I think we move off Chris Carson unless we get him for an extreme hometown discount, because I don't think Chris Carson is going to be the same player for many years down the road.
Wow, Noah, usually I agree with you on most of your points, but I think we're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum here. I think there's a couple things that might actually help the Chris Carson situation. First of all, I think after what we saw with the Todd Gurley contract mishap there down in Los Angeles, I think a lot of teams are going to be very hesitant to sign big money deals in extending contracts to players, and that might just be unfortunate for Chris Carson, maybe to the benefit of Seattle. I don't know if he's a big money guy going forward because of that circumstance, but also, I think he's an overlooked guy, so I don't know if he's going to get that kind of big money opportunity. But I don't believe that Rashad Penny is as good as Chris Carson. I wouldn't say that they're interchangeable. If I had to choose between two healthy versions of each other and they're all both standing right there going, pick me, I'm taking Chris Carson every time and twice on Sunday. I just like, from what I've seen, Penny's not a bad back, but I just think Chris Carson, I just think he's just a more, he's just a more of a grittier, grinded out, explosive back with more moves, with more shiftiness. I agree, he's not beast mode 2.0, but I think he's at least beast mode 1.7. He's pretty good in terms of emulating that style. And you say we haven't struggled at running back since beast mode. I disagree. I think we've struggled a lot at running back, and Chris Carson's the first time we had a running back who you didn't get frustrated with what they were doing back there. I mean, we had
Mike Davis came in. He played phenomenal for us.
Mike Davis was all right. He was
okay.
What was that other dude? Number 32.
Christian Michael?
Christine Michael. Man, that guy just make me pull my hair out seeing him back there. I know. I felt like after Beast Mode, there was a kind of a long gap of just a lot of guys. Thomas Rawls, we were hoping he'd be the guy. Then he got hurt, and then that was kind of the end of that. And it just seemed like there was a lot of try this. Nope, not quite. And we never quite landed on the guy. And I felt like Chris Carson was the first time we had there we go. There's the kind of guy who can bring it home. But again, the injury thing is a concern because of the way he runs. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe he's not meant to be by himself. You do pair him up with Rashad Penny, and maybe if they can make that two-headed monster continue on, running back by committee, I think he's worth keeping around, and I think that makes I think the running back department is better with two of them as opposed to just one or the other. I don't think they make it work. Yes, you may.
Okay, because I don't want you to get my words twisted. I am with you. I would love to see them both come back. I want Chris Carson for under $5 million. Where I think we disagree a little bit is that, first of all, the fact that Rashad Penny was drafted in the first round, I think that's a huge deal. I agree with you that Chris Carson and Rashad Penny right now, if they were side by side, I would take Chris Carson hands down. I agree with that. The thing is, we're talking about a contract for the future, and we're talking about a 3-4 year deal. 3-4 years down the road, I'm not taking Chris Carson over Rashad Penny, and I don't think Seattle would either. You talk about if he gives us a hometown discount and we're able to bring him back and have that 1-2 punch, I completely agree. But his style, as well as we look at the trends that Seattle has had with similar scenarios with players as they were on their way out. Earl Thomas, I thought we should have paid him top dollar, even though he might not have been able to produce for the money that he was worth because he earned it for Seattle. That was one of those controversial things, like should we give him the money even though he might not produce the same? Very similar to Chris Carson's situation, and what happened? He ended up flipping us off, and we sent him off to Baltimore. Like it didn't end well with Earl Thomas, even though he had earned that respect and potentially, like a lot of us, I argued we should have paid him. Well, I definitely think, like, if we're talking about what he's earned, out of love for Chris Carson for what he's done for our franchise, I would pay him the money. But if we're talking about moving forward, as well as John Schneider and Pete Carroll, I think if we can get him for $5 million or less, I think that's when you sign that deal. But if it's anything more than that, I don't think they get it done.
Sorry. Wow. I'm laughing because somebody put in the chat, Ton Sport says, Penny is fat.
Could I?
He was a little overweight.
He's not fat. Eddie Lacy, he was fat. And somebody brought him up in the chat. World Star 69.
like
Lacy sucked for us. What's that, Martin?
He said he likes China food. First of all, I'm confused why you three have not been hired by 710 yet. Yeah. the sports show.
Probably because I have too many times when my technical difficulties work and my either they can't hear my guests or my chat's not working or something. But that might have something to do with it. But Eddie Lacy, there's another one. Heck, I even said in my prediction video that Lacy was going to tear it up for us or some stupid lyric like that. And look what that got. Yeah. That was the biggest bust.
Eddie Lacy's running all over his old team.
Yeah. See, you know my lyrics better than I do.
And we go. Yeah.
Oh, man. But this is what I'm thinking, and I don't know if this could be done, if the agent would allow this to happen, but I'm a real big fan of incentives in contracts. I think there should be more of those, because really, it doesn't matter whether you do a 3-year contract, a 4-year contract, because we all know the contract terms can all be cut off at any given time in the NFL. The only thing that's guaranteed is that guaranteed money, that signing bonus, that guaranteed in-your-pocket salary that they determine the day you sign that extension. Everything after that is all kind of just words on paper that don't really apply. But if you put some escalators in there, some things in the contract that say, hey, okay, we'll put you, let's say, 3-year contract, make it sub $5 million, but you get over 1,000 yards, we're going to bump that pay up another $1 million. Or, roster bonus, start every game and not be injured half the season, you'll get an extra $500,000 or something like that. Make it to where you reward them for a good performance. To me, isn't that how life should be? You come in, hey, Johnny, you've been doing a great job these last 6 months on the French fries over there. We're going to bump you up a 10-cent raise. Good job. They need to have that kind of thing, but with more zeros behind it. So I'm big time into that. And I think Richard Sherman was scrutinized because he negotiated his own deal without an agent. And a lot of people said he had a bad deal and this and that. But I think in the end, he actually did pretty good for himself, because I think he had a lot of escalators in there that said, if you could stay healthy, play, hit a certain number of benchmarks, you'd actually make a lot more extra money. And I don't have it in front of me exactly what it was, but from what I recall of a general description of it, I think he actually did pretty good for himself because of that. He didn't get the big guaranteed thing, but he earned it, through performance. But I don't know. That's just my thought. I'd like to see more of that in the NFL, but I don't know how realistic that is, but that would, I'd say, make something like that happen. Calvin, you've been quiet. Come on, man. Chime in here with me.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think that for a guy like Chris Carson, incentives will be perfect in his track, just because, as you guys mentioned earlier, he's been unable to play a full 16-game season, but he's played phenomenal for us. I mean, he's had over 1,100 yards, over 1,200 yards, and he hasn't even played a full 16-game season. So I imagine that if they were to put a lot of incentives in his contract, in his next contract, I think that he'd be cool with that, just because he'd be betting on himself. And with what Richard Sherman did, I thought that was brilliant, just because he has been an All-Pro, he has been a Pro Bowler, and so he's definitely, I think, he's outperformed his contract. Now, I think that Chris Carson should look at that and kind of aim for the same in contract negotiations with the Hawks next offseason.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I have other people quoting my lyric in that Eddie Lacy thing. I must have been really drinking the Kool-Aid on that one. I think I said something like, "Green Bay isn't the right place to start the season, so we want to be 1-0. Eddie Lacy is running all over his whole team. We're gonna be 1-0.
1-0.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I know the whole song.
You got this thing memorized, dude. You should do? You should learn to play my prediction video on the piano, and then you sing it while you play it.
I need the sheet music.
Oh man, it's all by ear, man. Everything I do is all by ear.
Yeah.
You add that to your skill set. Be good, playing Chopin and Beethoven, but be able to figure out some stuff by ear. Good stuff. Let's see. We do have a caller here from Idaho. Let's bring him into this conversation. Cody from Idaho, what's up? You're on with NorbCam, Noah, Calvin, and Martin. What's up?
Hey, Norb. I was just wondering, I have 2 questions.
Shoot.
Okay, so I wanted to know, what would you rather take Chase Young or Jadeveon Clowney, like, as of right now?
That's a good one. I have an answer to that, but I'm going to let my guests talk first because they're my visitors, and I'd like to give them the courtesy. Let's start with Cal. Cal, what do you think? Chase Young, Jadeveon Clowney.
I'd go with Chase Young, and that doesn't mean that he's a better player than Clowney. He's not. I just think that Clowney, I mean, he does have injury issues. He is asking for a lot of money. And so I think in this situation, if I say Chase Young, I'm assuming that I'd also go with his contract. So he is on a rookie scale deal. And so, so I don't know if I'm kind of tweaking the question a little bit, but I think that his contract would definitely be a lot easier to fit into our cap situation. But I think that Chase Young, he's a generational pass rusher. His potential is off the charts, and I think that we could be looking at a future Von Miller, future Khalil Mack type of guy. And so I'd be willing to bet on that potential in the long run. And I think that even in his rookie year, next year, I expect a lot from him. I wouldn't be surprised if he was to put up 10 sacks. And so I'd go with Chase Young over Clowney.
Martin.
I do a lot of college football up until the draft, so you guys can't blow me up in the chat. But I have seen some Chase Young highlights. I know that he was a B for Ohio State. Pretty sure I watched the Michigan-Ohio State game. He was just tearing it up. As for Clowney, he has those injuries. Like Calvin said, the rookie deal can fit into our cap space. And since Chase Young has so much potential, he's such a good player, I think Seattle would take Chase Young over Clowney. Clowney is starting to age a little. Chase Young's like in his very low 20s or so. So like we could see him for many years. Clowney, we might only keep him for 1 year at this rate. And so I would go with Chase Young. He's explosive. Like Calvin said, he could be like Khalil Mack, Von Miller. That's the type of guy I would want as a pass rusher, run stopper kind of guy.
Okay, well, Noah, that leaves you to weigh in on this subject.
Well, I don't have the stats in front of me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe even though there is going to be some difference between NFL and college football, obviously in terms of the amount of talent that you're going up against, I believe there were 13 and a half sacks between the totals of Jadeveon Clowney and Chase Young last season. And that's a pretty big gap. I think based on needs alone, we don't necessarily need Jadeveon Clowney's run-stopping ability, and that's what his primary ability is, as well as to get pressure on the quarterback. We need sacks, and that's what Chase Young provides. He has an uncanny ability when he's coming off the edge to turn his hips like no other, even better than Nick Bosa, who we saw doing that hip drill, kind of like Dak Prescott was doing. The Dak hips, I think they call it, or whatever. And so Chase Young has an ability, no matter how far he has to go up the field, he can, to get around that tackle, offensive tackle, usually on the right side of the offensive line. As soon as he gets past, he stays extremely lateral, and he doesn't go too far upfield. He has an excellent pursuit, so he does so well once he beats that defensive lineman. That's how he's able to get a bunch of his sacks. He tracks extremely well. He scrapes to the quarterback, and that's a guy that fills a need for Seattle that Jadeveon doesn't fill. So even without contract, I would say Chase Young, based on age, based on what he provides, but with contract included, I'm with you guys, Chase Young.
Well, and I was going to say I would go with Young too. I don't have quite the measurables and all the variables that you brought up, but if you put the last names side by side and you have someone who's young and the other one's a clown, I think I'm going to go with the young because
wow,
that just sort of sounds better. So that's my scientific method of deciding which one I'm going to go with. No, but Chase Young he is young. He's going to have a little more on the upside. Clowney, we do know durability issues, and it is going to be kind of a year-by-year basis. I'm with you guys. I do hope he'll come back, but I think it is going to be sort of a one-year rental at a time, which is fine because if he can get us to a Super Bowl this year and do all the stuff, well, then we're all happy, right? Kind of like Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was like, we rented a Lamborghini for a year and had a lot of fun driving it, watched it go fast until it crashed. And like, okay, time to trade it in for something else. But, I think, I'm with you guys. I think young would be the way to go on that one. Somebody had a question in the chat. Keeps asking, awesome Madden clips. Wants to know, do you think the Bucs are going to be as good as everyone is saying? By the way, I'm a big fan. Go Hawks, says awesome Madden clips. Obviously, we're talking about the hype around the Bucs and Tom Brady and Gronk. We talked a little bit about this a couple of shows ago, but I guess we could revisit it. What do you guys think? Any change in your thoughts as to what kind of team the Buccaneers are going to be going into 2020? Start with Cal.
No, my thoughts haven't changed. I think that if our Seahawks aren't representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, it will most definitely be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Absolutely loaded. Tom Brady's still the GOAT, and now you throw in 2 top 10 receivers, you throw in a top 5 tight end, you throw in a pretty stacked defense, and now he has an offensive line. You got one of the steals of the draft in Antoine Winfield. You also got another steal in one of the best offensive linemen in the draft in Tristan Wirfs. You drafted a few running backs. They don't have any holes on that roster. And a lot of people are talking about, there's no offseason, and so Tom Brady's not going to have time to establish chemistry with the receivers. I don't think that matters. Just because Gronk is going to be there, he's going to help the transition process for the other guys. And Tom Brady's a go for a reason. I'm sure even before he got there or when he got there, he's been in constant communication with his receivers. Bruce Arians, he's a legendary coach, definitely a Hall of Fame coach. I don't think that the adjustment process is going to be anything to worry about whatsoever. I just think that if Tom Brady can stay healthy, which shouldn't be a problem. I mean, durability has never been an issue. I think that this team is a Super Bowl contender. And once again, if we're not representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, it'll be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow. Now, Martin's got to go do his piano thing in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to let you get this one last question answer here, and then you can take off if you need to and start working on that NorbCam piano version. But go ahead and answer the question. Buccaneers in 2020, how will they be?
I feel like they are going to become kind of like the Browns of last year. Everyone's hyping them up like, oh, they're going to win the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. And then they come up and do nothing. Sure, they might have, like, Noah's kind of shocked right now. I feel like, sure, they have Brady. Sure, he's the GOAT. They have Gronk, sure, but he just came out of retirement. To quote Ori Huang, he could be rusty. Sure, people might argue about that, but I feel like just because the Bucs have the GOAT and one of the best tight ends doesn't mean they're going to be good. I mean, you saw what the Browns had last year. They got OBJ, and everyone's like, oh, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, look at what happened to them. I feel like it's going to be the same thing with the Bucs. Everyone's going to hype them too much, and I feel like although they have some great receivers in Godwin and Evans, and they have a pretty darn good defense led by, like, Vita Vea, the guy from Washington, I feel like it's going to be overhyped. I feel like they're just going to underachieve big time.
We're going to get to Noah's response in a second, but you got to go, Martin?
I think I'll just go. Wait a minute. Let me check. I feel like my brother's doing piano right now on my mom's phone. Hey, let me check.
Okay. Well, while you're maybe mute your phone in case his piano lesson starts trickling into this broadcast and 710 is watching. So let me go to Noah for the response about the Buccaneers question. Are the Buccaneers real, or are they contenders or pretenders? Noah, what do you think?
Until the draft, I had them losing the division very narrowly to the New Orleans Saints because ever since early in free agency when they added Malcolm Jenkins as well as Emmanuel Sanders, I thought New Orleans was the most talented team in the NFL, arguably. But then the draft happened and Tampa Bay got an A+ in the draft, and now I have them going 13-3 and winning the NFC South. I think this team is potentially going to end up as the number 1 seed. I have them as the number 1 seed. I think they host all the games up and through the Super Bowl for the first time in NFL history. Hopefully they don't get there because we'll beat them in their house, but I think they're for real. Just the amount of talent that they've added, the too many smart minds, everyone's bought in. They have a culture, they have an identity, and it's going to suit them well this regular season.
Well, and I think having played against Bruce Arians coached teams for so many years in the NFC West, we know how many times they've given us fits. Even in the year we won the Super Bowl, Bruce Arians beat us in our house the year we went 13-3 and won it all. So I agree. This is not the Browns management. This is not the Browns coaching staff. This is not the Browns quarterback, the Browns culture. I think by getting rid of Jameis Winston and bringing in Tom Brady and his leadership and respect, I think this does bring it up a level. Hey, Martin, can you mute your phone for a second?
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, I think they're gonna challenge. I think the NFC South the other teams out there better start. They're gonna have something to worry about, what they haven't had to worry before. So we'll see what happens. All right, well, I think we're coming up close to the end of things, and I wanted to go to the lines. A couple more calls before we wrap this up. We got a new caller here on the line. Let's see, we've got somebody out of the 765 area code. What's up? You're live with NorbCam and Company. Who's this?
I am a Seahawks fan.
Okay. What's your name?
A Seahawks fan for a while now.
What's your name?
I've been watching your videos for a while too.
I appreciate that. What is your name, son?
Elijah.
Elijah. And where are you calling from?
Indiana.
From Indiana. Okay. All right. So what's your question? What do you got?
I was gonna ask.
The suspense is killing me.
Will the Seahawks have what it takes to at least get to the NFC Championship?
Oh, okay.
Okay. We sort of answered that question earlier because somebody asked a similar one saying, can the Seahawks go to the Super Bowl? And I think we all unanimously said yes. We talked about how we tend to get stuck at the divisional round, and it's going to be that, what's it going to take to leapfrog that team in the division and get to the championship this year? Do we have enough pieces? I guess that's a question to ask because last year we didn't, barely, couldn't quite get it done. What's the difference? Why does Seattle make it to at least the championship game this year and not get stuck in the divisional? Noah, start with you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Elijah, I think it's a great question. So first of all, we have to analyze the fact that the playoffs are changing this year. There's only going to be one team that gets a bye, and then there's going to be 3 games on wild card, or for each side on wild card weekend. So what's going to happen is, based on the fact that I have Seattle going 12-4, that puts them, for me, as the 2 seed. They don't get a bye, but they do get to host the first game, and if they win, they'll host another game. Therefore, I think by having 2 back-to-back home games, Seattle will get to the AFC Championship game, or excuse me, AFC Championship game. Yeah, you got me with that one. But just like he asked, I think we get to the NFC Championship game at least, and then I think that's where we play Tampa Bay, and I think that things get rough there. But let's just talk about getting there. I think we get there with back-to-back home games in the playoffs.
Martin, what do we got to do? What's the difference Seattle will do this time to get to the NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers?
I'm paranoid. My teacher's going to call in any second right now, but I'll make this quick. Kind of like what Noah said, we got the 12th man at CenturyLink Field. We, like Noah said, back-to-back home games will totally help us. Wild card and divisional. I hope that the crowd will be loud. I hope Norb boosted them up. 300 level, 334 big time. And, I mean, once again, I do not think Tampa Bay will host the NFC Championship. I think it's overhyped, but you never know. There could be the chance if we make it to the NFC Championship. I'm going to agree with Noah here. Back-to-back home games is the key.
Calvin.
I think health. Health is the key. Just because last year I think that health was the only factor, was the only thing that held us back from going as far as we could. We didn't win the division, but if it wasn't for health, I feel like that wouldn't have mattered. We still would have gone as far as the Super Bowl. And so I think that next season, it's highly unlikely that we have all these injuries occur at the same time. I mean, look at what happened last year. We had all of our running backs suffer injuries, all of our tight ends, offensive linemen down the stretch were missing games, guys on defense were missing games. I just think that we just maybe we had a little bit of bad luck last season, and I just doubt that goes into next season. And so I do like you guys' points about how, you know, home field advantage would be the key to making it to the NFC Championship. But I think that an even bigger factor would be health. Just as long as we're healthy, as long as Russ is healthy, as long as Pete Carroll's coaching, I think that's our biggest chance / biggest reason as to why we'd make it to an NFC Championship game.
Let's go to the phone lines to my favorite 49er fan outside of Crisostomo.
Yeah.
Let's go to Rohan from San Francisco, California. The most humble, soft-spoken 49er fan I know. Rohan, what's up?
I'm doing well. Just waiting for the rain to fall here, considering that the skies look like it's going to rain right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're probably going to have some rain coming up here in the next few days. Surprise, surprise. What's going on in Niner Nation? Isn't that what you guys call it? Is it Niner Nation? Or no, it's Niner Empire. I called it Niner Nation by mistake one time, and somebody got on me for that.
Niner Nation.
No, I think it's Niner Empire, isn't it? Rohan?
It can be whatever you want it to be.
Oh, somebody ripped me a new one because I was Crisostomo was talking about it and saying, "Hey, Niner Nation," and somebody said that it's not what it is. It's Niner Empire. So.
Niner Nation is the SB Network's like blog post for the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
I think.
So I guess it wasn't completely off. What are you doing, man? Are you like jogging or something? How come I keep hearing noise, like loud breathing over there?
Well, let me explain. My house is being remodeled right now. It's been remodeled for the last year. So every time I get on call with you, I have to leave the house.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm walking right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, just try not to breathe so heavy on the phone. Otherwise, it's very disruptive to the broadcast. 710 might be listening to this.
Okay.
I want to make a good impression. Okay. So what's on your mind, man? We talked quite a bit. How does that make you feel that we want to steal Nick Bosa from your team? Did we steal the right guy?
That would be absolutely horrendous for me. I mean, he's technically not my favorite player. Fred Warner.
Who's the best player? Who would be the one player you would hate to lose from the 49ers? And if you say Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm going to laugh my ass off.
Hang up. If he says Jimmy G, hang up.
No, who is the most valuable player?
I'd say either George Kittle or Fred Warner.
Oh.
That makes.
I'm with the Kittle thing. On the offensive side, I'm with the Kittle thing right there.
Yeah,
Fred Warner, though.
Warner's like the best coverage linebacker in the league, dude.
So you would give up Nick Bosa before you would give up Fred Warner?
Very hesitantly, but Fred Warner's way too good in coverage, dude. And plus, I have a thing for linebackers, considering that, like, literally my favorite 49ers players of all time, like, Patrick Willis is literally my favorite 49er of all time, and Navarro Bowman's in the top 5 with him.
They were good. They were very good.
I like 49ers linebackers a lot.
Okay, all right.
I got to admit, Rohan, yeah, you are totally right. The linebackers from the 49ers have been amazing. Patrick Willis is a boss. I remember, man, he made so many big plays. Navarro Bowman, also super good. Like, those two are like the dynamic duo of linebackers in the early 2010s or so. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I went to a game at Candlestick Park, the 49ers were playing the Seahawks. It was 7-13. They beat the Seahawks that year in Candlestick, I remember. It was the first quarter of a game. Right? Russell Wilson was rolling out of the pocket trying to throw. Navarro Bowman comes right up to him, levels him so hard that the ball goes flying out of bounds. It was so amazing to watch.
Was that in 2013?
12. I think it's 2012.
Yeah.
12.
Okay. When Vernon Davis got leveled by Cam?
It was 13.
Ouch.
Yeah, same year except different game.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Cal?
Yeah. Remember when Vernon Davis got leveled by Cam? That was very fun to watch. Yeah.
Which time, man?
Yeah.
There was the first one, and then there was several repeats after that.
The San Francisco area was in a lot of sports rivalries back then. Niners, Seahawks, the Warriors, Clippers was at its peak. when like Donald Sterling had all the racist comments and the two teams played in the playoffs. But that's basketball. Getting off topic.
That was we haven't quite gotten back to the same level as it was in 12, 13. It's starting to get there, though, wouldn't you say? It feels like the 49er. When you watch the two games that we played this year, I mean, those were nail-biting, back-and-forth slugfests. And minus the Camp Chancellor, Vernon Davis love, that's the only thing we're kind of missing right now. I feel like we're just missing that physicality, but definitely the rivalry is alive again for sure. But we need to get a little more leveling going on.
This version of the rivalry feels different than it did last time because, like, in 2012-13, like the two teams were literal mirror images of each other and how they function. Nowadays, it's a little differently. Like, Seattle is basically a team that revolves around the high-end performance of Russell Wilson and occasionally Chris Carson, but mainly Wilson, in order to have a chance of winning. The Niners are a team that revolves around their defense and their running backs if they can show up.
Yeah.
And Garoppolo, too, if he can show up.
He won't. But that's okay. Jetfire97 of the Super Chat says, are you going to a Seahawks-Rams game in the new stadium? Not sure yet. I would love to check out the new stadium. I'm not looking forward to those new uniforms. Although the logo isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because the logo, when you see it by itself, looks kind of goofy with the LA and the Ram thing on there. But now I've seen it in the uniform mode. Have you seen the new uniforms? You guys seen them yet? They've just kind of... Yeah. It's not as bad as I thought. I really don't like the white or the away game uniforms. Whatever that white color, off-white. I don't like that very well. The yellow, and I'm glad they're sticking with the yellow and blue. What's that?
Those white jerseys make the Rams look like literal sheep, and they wonder why we keep calling them the Lambs.
Yeah, I don't like the whites on them. I do like the yellow and blue. It is very much like the old school LA, Rams look. But I'm just glad they don't have that LA on the side with the horn thing. I'm glad it's still more or less the Ram part of it. That would have been really annoying. Although, what am I talking about? I mean, I should hope that the Rams do a bunch of stupid stuff and make themselves look like fools. But as long as they lose, that's the important thing. But they're going to have a really nice stadium to play in. So I don't know if I'm going to be going down there yet. One of these days I plan to, but I might have to wait till things calm down a little bit. Something tells me it's going to be very expensive the first opening inaugural year in LA. But yeah, so I was asking you all the questions. Do you have a question for us, Mr. Rohan?
I have a question for you guys. Oh yeah, something I've always wanted to ask you guys, if you guys were to give your top 5 Seahawks players of all time that you guys have gotten to watch, who would you guys say?
Our top 5 Seahawks. Okay.
Just our top 5 Seahawks of all time? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that you guys have gotten to watch.
Okay. Noah, you want to start it off?
I'm literally writing my list right now. I'd say so you used the preface that we've gotten to watch. So I'm not gonna take the ones that go back, because obviously I throw Largent in there. I throw Walter Jones. I can still throw Walter Jones a little bit, but I'd say just based on this generation of Seahawks since I'll say 2010, 2011, I'd say Wilson, number 1. I'd say Cam Chancellor, number 2. I'd say Beast Mode is 3. And then I'm going to finish out the Legion of Boom and say Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas. I'd say those have got to be my 5 just because of the impact that they were all able to have, the leadership. They were the leading factors of our dynasty. Wagner's up there most definitely, but I just think in terms of impact on us during our most important hour, I'd say Wilson, Cam Chancellor, Beast Mode, Sherman, Thomas.
That's good. How about you?
That went about as I expected.
Yeah. What about you, Martin? I think we're going to have a lot of similar names on our list here.
Yeah, so if it were just the 2010s overall, then I would start off with, obviously Russell Wilson. the guy who our team revolves around. Number 2, I would go with Bobby Wagner. I actually had the chance to meet him once. I mean, he's a really cool guy. The way he plays on the field he's just a beast. And although he's aging, I still think he is a playmaker at some point. Number 3, I mean, get the Skittles out. I like Beastman at number 3. He was just a super key part of our run game that we'll probably never see again, unless somehow Chris Carson just blows up. Number 4, ooh, that's hard. There were a lot of great players, but wide receiver is my most favorite position. I'm going to go with Doug Baldwin. He was like a really good target for Russell Wilson those years until he abruptly retired. His injuries did kind of cost him a really good year in 2018, but I really liked Doug Baldwin. He was a great player, great wide receiver, and so he's my number 4. Number 5. I mean, there are so many good players that were like such key parts of our team. It's super hard to choose, but I'm going with as much as I hate he's with the Niners right now, I had to go with Richard Sherman, the leader of the Legion of Boom. And I mean, I like the way he plays. I like the way he likes to trash talk to people because I do kind of follow the way he trash talks. I like to talk trash with my friends whenever I play football. Be a little brash, kind of like him. But I just love the way he plays. And I mean, we would not have gone to the to Super Bowl 48 without him. As much as I hate he's with the Niners, as much as I hate he partially betrayed us, I still have to put him up there. I wish he could come back to Seattle if he were healthy and his Achilles wasn't as bad. He was faster, I guess.
All right. How about you, Cal?
All right, so I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to just do my top 5 Seahawks of all time. In no particular order, I got Cortez Kennedy, Steve Largent, Walter Jones, Russell Wilson, and Beast Mode.
Okay.
That's really good, man. That's really good. This is so hard. And as for me, I guess I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to do a top 5 and I have honorable mention as well.
Oh,
but
man.
I've got to go with Steve Largent, just because he sort of was the start of it all, and great hands, an ultimate type of guy that you just never would have thought would have been a star, and he became that because he just worked hard, ran great routes, had great hands. Was not the fastest, wasn't the biggest, wasn't anything, but he just had a lot of heart and worked his ass off. So Steve Largent, I had to go old school again with Kenny Easley, the original enforcer before Cam Chancellor. Kenny Easley, I met him in person, watched him go into the Hall of Fame the same year I got inducted into the Fan Hall of Fame, 2017. And so that was a big year for me, and getting to see him go and see him do the speech and be basically the personal escort of Mama Blue, who he shouted out in that ceremony. And what's not to love about Kenny Easley? And he was, back when the rules, you could do whatever you wanted practically to a guy, he would do that and more. And then I got to go to Beast Mode, of course, because I think these are names where you go, when you say a guy's name, you just kind of go, oh, right? Beast Mode, you'll never forget the years of what he did with the Seahawks. Wilson, I think there's still great things that we haven't even seen yet that are coming up still. But he's already accomplished more than any other quarterback we've ever had. Then Cam Chancellor, my favorite Seahawk of all time, just because of the way he hits. I think we'll never see that again unless they pull the rules out. But they basically legislated Cam Chancellor hits out of the game, which is kind of sad. But I miss those days when he would light guys up, and that is what you love so much. And so I'm going to cheat now and go with my honorable mention. And I'm just honored that I could watch these guys play and say I was in the building to watch Walter Jones, Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas. I mean, they're all... It's hard not to include those guys on a list, so I cheated and included all 4 of them. But, I'll be glad to say that I was in the building to see all those guys play at one point, during their careers. So, good question, though. Good question there, Rohan. Let me pot your sound back up. There you go. Any surprises in there, Rohan?
I remember someone was saying, like, someone had, like, a list of really old-time Seahawks and then have Marshawn Lynch. I can't remember who it was. I guess if it's fine, I'll go and reveal my top 5 49ers players of all time, maybe with an honorable mention.
Oh, okay. Not that I asked you for it, but since we're on the subject, I'll let you do it. If you can do it in less than a minute.
Yeah, I need to get a pin into. That's all I need to be a part of the discussion.
Well, there were a lot of great 49ers over the years, for sure. So let's see how our list compare.
I'll just stick with the ones that I got to watch. So, like, none of the 90s and 80s ones. So,
that writes off a whole bunch of good ones.
I'll just start with the honorable mention. Now, honorable mention, Vernon Davis. And gosh, there's so many cars out here. It's so loud. Let me walk the other way. Okay, so honorable mention, Vernon Davis. Number 5, Navarro Bowman. Number 4, Joe Staley. Number 3, Justin Smith. Number 2, Frank Gore. Number 1, Patrick Willis. There you go. Got out of the way.
Yep, that's a good list.
That's definitely a good list for staying within the more recent 49ers.
Right. I've been watching them for 12 years.
Yeah. Well, I've watched them for longer, so if I were to add people on there, well, you know, of course, Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott.
Young.
Talk about Ronnie Lott as a Steve Young.
Jerry Rice.
But Ronnie Lott,
Roger
man,
Craig.
cutting off his finger. Ronnie Lott had cut his finger off in the middle of a game. Got smashed, I think, during a hit, and he just, instead of like taking yourself out. No, cut it off. I need to keep playing. I mean, who does that anymore, right? I mean, you're like, no, it's not in my contract. I'm going to go sew this up. And that's just a crazy time. But yeah, there have been a lot of great 49ers. But your list, definitely in the last decade, certainly pretty high on that. Well, Ron, it's been good talking to you, man. Good luck with the rest of your remodel. And I'm sure we will talk again sometime here before the regular season.
We're in like the final couple now, so fingers crossed, fans. All right.
All right. Well, take care. We'll talk to you later. All righty. Okay. Well, I think we're about wrapped up with our time. I'm surprised you're still here, Martin. I thought you were going to have to go down and tickle the ivories. But
I haven't gotten the notification yet. I feel like my brother's doing it right now. I don't know why. Maybe he's just practicing.
Well, I think this is a great time to wrap things up. But before I do, I want to make sure that my guests here that you've all been listening to, watching, and listen to our crazy banter have a chance to at least talk a little bit about what they do and where you can find them. Let's do that. Let's start with Noah. Why don't you start first and tell everybody where they can find you and besides the fact that your name is on the screen and the links are in the description, tell them more about what you do and what they can expect if they follow your content.
Well, thank you, Norb. I post daily videos on YouTube with my hot takes on the world of sports. Tomorrow, I'm doing a quarterback comparison between Tom Brady and Dak Prescott for next season. Today, I posted a video about the Myles Garrett whole ordeal. I post daily videos. And then we have a specialty show, a radio debate show, myself and Calvin as well, called The Boelt. We do it every Saturday. You can tune in live anywhere with the KGRG app. We do it from 10 to 1. We play games. We debate hot topics in sports. We talk about the draft. And we primarily talk football, so you don't want to miss it every Saturday from 10 to 1. If you do miss it, though, the SoundCloud link is in the chat right here because we podcast it all up.
All right. Calvin, you're already kind of included in that. Did you want to add something? I know you also have your own channel as well.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, so just like Noah, I also post YouTube videos. However, I post weekly videos, not daily. So definitely subscribe to Noah if you, need your fix every day. But my video this upcoming weekend, I'm going to be talking about beast mode and whether or not he should be coming back to Seattle. And so be sure to subscribe, Steezy A. Smith, as Norb said, link in the description. And there you go.
And last but certainly not least, Martin, tell them a little bit about your channel and when we can expect to see that NorbCam piano video coming out.
Obviously, you guys know my channel's called Seahawks Martin, but before you subscribe to me, subscribe to Calvin and Noah because their content's super awesome. And, I mean, I love the Boelt, okay? Like, I listen to it every single week. I try to answer the Boelt Jeopardy questions. Most of the time it's wrong, but it's fun. But yeah, my channel's called Seahawks Martin. I'm just a 12-year-old kid who just likes football. I had a new intro video come out yesterday, but usually I don't like schedule a date for a video. I just come out with the video anytime. So just you have to turn on the notification bell to see if I have a video. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Well, most importantly, I want to thank you guys, the audience, for those of you who took the time to phone in, for those of you guys who were blowing up the chat over there, and for those of you who just quietly watched and stuck with us for this whole show. Despite all the technical difficulties I had at the beginning, I appreciate you guys hanging around in here and listen to us. It was a lot of fun. I never know where these shows are going to go. We start with a topic, and then it goes a whole crazy different directions, and you guys help make it fun. So I hope you guys will check us out again. We do this every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. I think that's kind of a regular thing now, and I think we'll keep doing it as long as we can make the time in our schedules. So far it works out great, given the quarantine situation.
That's two things you can look forward to. This and right here, and then the Boelt on Saturday.
Look at that.
Two things you can look forward to.
The promo master right there. Yeah, that's what's great about this. When things do return to normal, it'll be interesting to see how our schedules all play out, because it could be very different once we are no longer locked down in our house. But I'm enjoying it for now.
There because I've got school.
We might have to adjust our schedule a little bit once life returns to normal. But for now, every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we'll keep doing it. So yes, subscribe to all these guys, and then please subscribe to mine as well. Hit that notification bell. Hit the like button. It all helps us out in the YouTube world of the YouTube algorithm as we're trying to find our way through all this. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guests. Noah, Calvin, and Martin for joining me. And until next time, we will see you all real soon. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.